Today on Drawbli.
Ben is painting a deer.
Hey, I'm Ben.
And I'm Abby.
And we are self-taught artists documenting our journey of learning to draw, which is of course better with friends.
So, click that subscribe button if you're new around here.
And check out our guidebook, How to Easily Draw Every Day, at the link below.
So Ben, you came up to me all giggles and delight and smiles. Like you had the best joke.
It's the funniest thing I've ever said in my entire life.
I drew a deer, and then you opened your iPad, and I was just like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, bud. Yeah, it's a nice deer.
And meanwhile, you're just cackling at how hilarious you are for calling a not deer a deer. And I think that's the basis of your humor.
Yeah.
I think that's just what your humor roots down to.
It's not complicated.
Lies and deceit.
Lies and deceit, yeah. It's not complicated, but it works. It gets the job done.
It sells. It sells.
So, we have been doing people for a long time.
So you've forgotten what animals even are.
I would say, yes, that's actually.
They're all deer to you now.
Everything's a deer. A dog, that's just a short deer.
A short deer.
A tiger, striped deer.
Stripey deer, yes. Danger deer.
Danger deer. Well, that's what you would call a shark.
A moose.
Or a moose. Oh, that's a tall deer.
That's a tall danger deer.
Tall danger deer.
Yes.
Giraffe, lanky deer.
Lanky deer.
Yeah. Anyway, we've been doing lots of people to the point where I would say like 75+% of my paintings anymore are just like portraits.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy making portraits. I find them to be extremely challenging. I find animals to be a little easier. And because of that, I didn't spend as much time probably on this. But I kind of wanted to paint the background first. I also was excited to try clouds again.
Oh yeah, how'd that go for you?
A lot better than the last time we tried doing clouds, but still not amazing.
Mm-hmm. Clouds are their own whole thing.
Yeah, they're just so amorphous. It's quite difficult.
When we first went to draw clouds over a year ago, I watched several YouTube videos to the...
And how did that help?
Well, I was so new that the very basic one helped, and I was able to follow along like with a quick tricks for clouds kind of style. But the one
5 quick tips for drawing clouds.
Yeah, but then I watched a really long video by a YouTuber called Angry Miko, who's an artist on YouTube, and he had an extensive, beautiful cloud tutorial that I was not able to follow at all because I was so new. I even downloaded
maybe we
his
should go
special
check it out
brush.
again.
Yeah, I still have the brush he had for it, the Cloud Weaver brush. Yeah.
I feel very lame just using this same hard round brush for everything.
Well, no, it's not lame. It's like you said. Once you can do a really good job with the hard round brush, then you get to graduate to the textured brushes.
I feel like that is fair, but I also still use some like texture brushes occasionally in my work. But I kind of tend to stick to like the same just few brushes. I'm not very experimental with my brushes. I feel like that's a limitation that I have.
Yes.
Do you experiment with a lot of different brushes?
Kind of. I'll get into like a phase where I'm just like, this is my new favorite brush. I use this brush for everything all the time. And then a month later, it's a new brush. So technically, yes, just very slowly. So yeah, I do like it though. Each one seems, if you use one predominantly, it gives the entire base of your work like a whole different tone and feel.
Yeah, I think a large part of people's art style is the type of brush that they use, or type of brushes that they use.
Yeah.
Like Flaptrap is one of those. Do you remember that artist? I can't remember his actual name, but that's like his handle. He has the brush that is thick when he goes horizontal and thin when he goes vertical. And he creates like really strong shapes. I'll pull up some of his work right here so people can ooh and ah over it.
Nice of you.
Because it is very nice. But yeah, I think, the brushes you use are super important. But I also want to get like good at using basic brushes so I can understand the fundamentals before I try to like, do anything specific. And I have like customized quite a few brushes to make them work a little easier with me. There's the syrup brush, if you remember.
Oh yeah.
I still use a version of that brush, but I've tweaked it a little to be slightly better for me. Same thing with the pencil brush that I used to use. I used to use I think it was called Peppermint. I think that was like the default version. But I've tweaked that brush a few different times now, and it's like very slightly different, but it works better for me.
Okay. Well, cool. Yeah.
I think that's part of, growing as an artist, slowly starting to tweak your tools to be better for you. It'd be cool if you had that in the physical realm where you could just take your brush and like modify it slightly. It's so crazy in digital that there's so many things that you can just adjust on the fly like that.
Very easily versus like, oh, if I modify this paintbrush, I can't unmodify it. Like, and some people do, I understand, like warp their own paintbrushes and tools to their own needs. But yeah, there's no going back in the physical realm with that kind of thing. So much easier and economical to experiment digitally.
You just have so much control in digital. Like, for me, from my perspective, I just don't understand a ton of the appeal of physical art. I take that back. I understand the appeal, but for me, there's just so much more power and accessibility and ease of use with digital art. I would never want to spend a ton of time invested in the physical realm, especially when it comes to learning. I think learning art digitally has to be just like so much faster.
You might be right.
You don't have to worry about, well, obviously you have to like pay more upfront to get started with something like an iPad. Obviously there's a lot higher cost than buying a pencil or something. But the amount that you can like repurpose, you never have to buy new supplies. Or if you do, it's like little pen nibs for $5 for a pack of those.
Maybe a new Apple Pencil.
If you drop yours at a strange angle like you have accidentally.
So sad.
Yeah, mine's like just barely holding on, I think. I'll have to get a new one eventually, but I'm waiting. I'm waiting. He's still good. He's still good for now.
Yes. Hang on as long as you can. Yeah, I mean, it does allow you to experiment, and I have seen that idea expressed by artists who work both digitally and with physical media is like they're very grateful to have digital because it has allowed them to experiment and grow as artists with color in ways that you just can't time-wise do with physical media, and they find that it really informs and helps their traditional styles too. They're like, oh, I've already done this 100 times on an iPad. I already know the colors and the shapes and what I want here versus having to like figure it out.
Which is super cool. I like that aspect of it a lot.
Yeah, it's similar to how you talk about how sketching, quote unquote, is far slower with sculpting digitally than sketching on as a 2D thing.
Sculpting in general is just slow.
Yeah, sculpting in general is slow, and traditional media for painting is also pretty slow.
I have a piece that I'm working on right now that I'm just like, I'm not even putting a time limit on this thing. It'll be done when it's done, and we'll see what comes of it.
The sculpt you're doing now?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've seen sneak peeks. It is really cool. Definitely worth the time.
Spoilers.
Oh my gosh.
Top secret.
No, I'm really excited for this sculpt you have coming up.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Oh no, I already know. It's amazing. It's amazing.
No promises.
I promise you. It's great.
You're really building it up.
Well, it's really cool.
Speaking of cool, I did level up in my clouds, although they still feel flat and not as dimensional.
Well, if you want, I can send you a link to the Angry Miko video I watched.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, he's so fun as a YouTuber too. If you've never watched his videos before, and they're pretty advanced too. I think for a lot of them can be. So if you kind of think of yourself as an advanced beginner or intermediate, he might be somebody worth checking out.
I would consider myself that.
Yeah. I mean, as a very beginner person, I think I was.
There'd be some trouble.
Looking back, I'm like, some of the videos I chose to watch were probably a bit over my head. But now I'd like to go back because I feel like he might be the right level. But I can only do one thing at a time, and
yeah, we're already going through our other course,
which I really like.
Learning and practicing some perspective, which is super fun.
Yeah, I set up a perspective grid on my iPad yesterday to practice. I didn't get to practice, but I set up the grid.
But I didn't practice, but I thought about practicing. And thinking about practicing is half the battle.
Yeah, you can do a lot in your head. Your brain interprets thoughts in real life the same way sometimes. This is a great deer.
Thank you.
Yes, play along with your little game.
And if you want to play along at home, click that like and subscribe button and check out our guidebook, How to Easily Draw Every Day, down below in the description.
Share your work on Instagram with #Drawbli because drawing is better with friends.
And this is the part where we say...
Goodbye.
Goomba.
Yes, I looked out my window the other day and I saw a deer.
It looked just like this.
Just like that.
Exactly.
Just like that here in the Midwest of North America. That deer was loping around.
When you just said deer, your whole body just like inflated like 10%.
Oh, I'm like a Pixar character.
It did.
Yeah.
It happened. I saw it.
Animate me.
Animate. Animate me.